Okay, and we live yet again. How are you doing, kiddos? This lesson, lesson 20, wraps up topic D. Be prepared to take topic D quiz next week. Topic 20 is on square roots. We've already dibbled and dabbled in square roots a little bit in previous lessons. We're going to get into some detail though today. Have a sheet of paper on standby because it's something you're going to have to draw to keep and hold on to. Our focus, though, is related to our key question for the day. How do we determine the location of certain square rooted values on a number line? And for any whole number value of x that is not a perfect square, meaning so not something where you might be finding the square root of 4, which is 2, or the square root of 16, which is 4, or the square root of 3, which is, I'm sorry, the square root of 9, which is 3. Not perfect squares, but trying to figure out how to decipher where these other square rooted values are sit at that are not perfect. Our fluency, which is our warm up, we are reasoning about length. If you can remember from the last lesson, lesson 19, that's where we got into reasoning, where certain square rooted values will sit at in between certain numbers. I did number one for you. It gives us the square root of c equals 15. So the idea is you have to isolate c a little bit so that we'll have one c, not squared c, and that will give us the square root of 15. Now you have to figure out what two numbers squared will give us a value where the square root of 15 or where the number 15 would fit in between. I know off the top of my head the square root of 3 is 9, and then the square root of 4 is 16. And we know that 15 sits somewhere in between 9 and 16, so our answer is between the units of 3 and 4. Is where the square root of 15 will fit in. That's all you're doing. Take a pause here to do number 2 through 6. Come back when you are done. If you have any questions or if something looks a little weird or if you're not sure, just put a star by it and ask me about it in class. Moving along. This is our launch. This is a number line. If you do not know how to draw a number line, which I would hope that you do, if you have a sheet of paper in front of you, a sheet of lined paper at that, you take your pencil, draw a straight line on one of the blue lines, attach some arrows and a couple of tick marks, and now you have a number line and label it number line because we're going to do something with it in just a second. Now we're going to go over something called the spiral of deodorant. I almost couldn't get it out of my mouth. Deodorant. You should have this paper in your book. If you don't, it's okay. You can just go on paper because we are going to be drawing a little bit today. Now on here, it gives us a right triangle with the side lengths of 1 and 1. I can tell you now, that our C values, you can remember from our Pythagorean theorem lesson, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Here's our right triangle. We're probably going to find the value of c, and we can already decipher that 1 squared plus 1 squared equals c squared. That's going to give you 1 plus 1, which is 2 c squared, and then we need c, so we have to square root a little bit. So c is going to be the square root of 2, but I'm jumping ahead. I'm just telling you now. Be ready to do a bunch of that, or at least attach that. Here's the breakdown right here. This is what I just wrote. In order to isolate the c and take it out of that squared power, we have to square root 2. And that's what that side length is on that um, right triangle up at the top. Here, this is just to show you that anytime you take a squared, I'm sorry, a square root value and then square it, Like you have the square root of 25 and then you square it and multiply it to itself. The square root of 25 is still 25. The square root of 25 squared is just going to be 25 and you just take the symbol out. The reason being is that because if you break down the square root, that'll still give you 5 squared. But that'll, that'll raise the power again to a square value, which is still 25. So the square root of 25 is 5. It's still 5 squared, so we still got 25 on the end. So anytime you square a square rooted value, it's just going to be that number on the inside and you take the symbol off of it. You just need to understand that ideology. So if I gave you the square root of 13 and then we raise it to a square value, that's the same thing as saying the square root of 13 times the square root of 13. It'll just equal 13. All you're doing is taking the square root value off of it. Nothing more, nothing less. As long as you understand that, you'll be fine. This is the main topic of today. Put a star by this. Not only put a star by this, because I don't even know if y'all have this picture, but if you do not have this picture, pause here and take a sheet of paper, whether it's a clean sheet of paper or you're just using an empty piece of paper in your notebook or in your workbook or whatever, and draw this out. This spiral of Theodorus breaks down how to calculate and how to determine where certain square root values sit on a number line. Take notice of the fact that we have a few perfect squares in here because right here we have square root of 4, which is 2. Right here we have square root of 9, which is 3. Here we have square root of 16, which is 4. Those will be your main points on the number line. Those are your x values. Okay. Also, I want to take note of the fact that for every perfect square, there's going to be 2 extra square root values to go in between those numbers. So here we have 2 square root values before we get to 4. And then here we got 4 of them before we get to the square root of 9, which is a perfect square. And then here we have 6 more before we get to the square root of 16, which is the perfect square value of 4. So for every couple of them, every perfect square, they're going to be a couple more square roots to go in between. Just something to take notes of and pay attention to. At this time, take a pause to draw this now. When you're done, come right back. This number line shows you exactly where those square rooted values would fit on a number line if you were looking at one, whether it was on a chart or a graph or whatever. Here's our square root of 4. Right here, that's 2. Here's our square root of 1, which is still 1. 0, which is our origin. That's a perfect square as well, which is still 0. But there's nothing in between there. Let me see. Also, once again, there's 2 of these. There's 4 of these. In between 3 and 4, there's going to be 6 square root values. So just if you ever need to count, and make sure you're labeling correctly. If you ever had to label, just know that. And it gives us the square root of 2 all the way through to the square root of 9 thus far. Yes, they are placed numerically, but there's just a certain number in between that you need to be aware of. If you ever needed this, though, I'll probably just let you use it for a quiz. You probably won't need it, but if you did, of course, I will let you know. This is just a simple breakdown, though, of how to determine where certain square root values sit on a number line. But here's the cheat, because you really don't even need to memorize this for real. If you plug in your square roots into a calculator, you will get a decimal number. That decimal number can fit somewhere on that number line as well. And that is just an easier way to make it make sense for yourself. So you can use the spiral of theodolite, or you can just use that calculator, our handy dandy calculator, and do the exact same thing. All right. Here's our debrief. How do we determine the location of the square root of 2 on the number line? You would utilize your spiral of theodolite, which looks like a seashell. That's what you were just drawing out. Or you can just plug the square root of 2 in on the number line, and I'm going to do that in my calculator. You can plug it into your calculator. That gives you 1.414. You can round that down a little bit to just 1.4, and then place 1.4 somewhere on your number line. And if we scroll up, here's the square root of 2 here. This is also where 1.4 fits at, which is nearly in the middle, but not quite. That's a simple way of doing it. That just makes a little more sense. So don't think of this as something more complicated than what it is. It's not. Here's your exit ticket. Well, problems 1 and 2, they want you to just solve. It gives you a squared square root. Remember what I said about those squared square root values. Also, for number 3, put a star by number 3. Here, you're once again going to order from least to greatest. I highly encourage that you do what I told you to do and just put those square rooted values in a calculator to determine the decimal number and make it a little more obvious for yourself of where those exactly would fit on the number line, and then order from least to greatest. Some of y'all are messing up and you're ordering stuff from greatest to least and then it's getting it wrong anyway just because you put it backwards. Don't do that. Follow instructions and order these values from least to greatest. Okay? Also, when you order from least to greatest, make sure you're ordering it in this format. Yes, you can convert the square root into decimal, but do not write the decimal numbers in your answer. Leave the square roots in your answer, but you can use it to help you solve, okay? When you're done, make sure you turn this in. Your homework. Your homework for lesson 20. Let me get it. Give me 2 seconds. Your homework for lesson 20 is 13 questions. It is the practice section of lesson 20. It's number 1 through 13, the practice section like always. Okay? Don't worry about the remember section. I want y'all to get into the habit of doing your homework strictly and not mixing concepts on accident. This is my way of trying to squeeze out some extra points for you guys because some of y'all's grades are suffering from not turning in your homework. So I have to up the points a little bit to try to help you to catch up with a couple more A's. Of course, if you're going to get an A, you need to get all the answers right. Remember that I grade for accuracy, not participation. So they have to actually be right to get full points. Take your time, double, triple check your answers. Make sure you're following all directions. When you're done with this, which should be this weekend, turn this in ASAP. Just a quick memo, I am no longer accepting work from topic A or topic B. So if you still have work that you needed to turn in from lessons 1 through 9, I don't want it. We're well past that. I will still accept topic C work though. Topic C was lessons 11 through 14. So if you still have something left over from there, I will take it and grade it. You have about a week to get that in. For topic B, that's what we're doing now. That is lessons 16 through 20. Obviously, I'm accepting that homework. Get that in ASAP. Do not wait till the last minute. Do it ASAP. Make sure you study hard because we have the topic B quiz coming up next week, and we also have to do the topic C quiz again as well. So be very prepared for